Hey creatives, today I want to talk to you about something I know a lot of you are thinking about, making a pivot in your creative business. Maybe you've been feeling stuck, uninspired, or even a little restless, wondering if it's time to switch things up. I get it because I've been there. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey in this video. But here's the truth. You don't need anyone's permission to make a change in your business. If you're feeling the call to pivot, there's a good chance it's because you're outgrowing where you are. And that's okay. Actually, it's more than okay. It's necessary for growth. And today, I want to share the steps to take if you're thinking about making a pivot so that you feel more confident in the decision and the journey. Let me give you a little context by sharing my own journey. I think a lot of people might be too embarrassed to share these with you because it shows that I've made a lot of pivots and it can feel a little bit all over the place, but I want my journey to inspire you to realize that you can pivot and it might take a few of them to get where you want to be. So when I first started out, I was designing logos, resumes, and websites, if you can believe it. And that's where I started as a business owner. But as time went on, I realized that wasn't lighting me up anymore, and I wanted to explore other passions. So I shifted to creating handmade party decorations and eventually selling them on Etsy. This was a massive pivot in my business, but it felt like the right next step at the time because I was doing what I already loved and enjoyed. And I felt good about making people happy with my products for their big milestones. So from there, I made another big change. I launched a blog and I started sharing about my party decorations. But that wasn't enough either. I felt called to dive deeper into mindset work and positive thinking, as a lot of you know that I'm interested in. So I started a podcast on the law of attraction. In fact, even though I haven't put any new podcasts out lately, you can still check out that podcast. It's still live on anywhere you can listen to podcasts. It's called The Celebration Effect, if you're interested. And yes, that was another huge pivot. But every single one of these changes made sense for where I was in life at the time. And eventually, I found my way into selling printables because I started to get burnt out selling handmade items. This ended up being such a fun pivot that I started to teach others how to do it too. And later, I ended up launching a YouTube channel, obviously. And most recently, I started coaching creatives on how to sell digital products and build a successful business. Because that's the next step in the journey. Here's what I want you to know. You don't need to wait for someone to tell you that it's okay to change directions. If your heart is pulling you towards something new, that's all the permission you need. The truth is, most people are not going to be able to give you that permission because they don't quite understand what it is that you're doing, what it is you're looking to do. Most people aren't business owners, and most people aren't going to take the time you're taking to grow a business like you. So don't go asking for permission from people who just don't understand. This can feel slightly lonely at times, but that's when you lean into your online business besties who can help you through the change. Find a group or a coach that's been where you have gone and get advice from someone who actually gets it. That's super important. And you might have guessed that I have an online coaching group where I help female creatives through these exact same types of predicaments, where we have monthly coaching and masterclasses to help you get unstuck in your business. And you can click the link below to learn more. But here's what I'll tell you, and this is really important. Pivots need to make sense. They should be a strategic step forward, not just a reaction to feeling bored or scattered. When I look back at all of the changes I made in my business, none of them were done on a whim. They all had one thing in common. They were aligned with my growth. Each step I took was a building block that helped me reach the next level, even if the pivot felt very scary or completely different from what I was doing before. So if you're thinking about making a pivot in your business, I want to give you a few steps that you should follow in order to get where you want to be. So number one, you need to ask yourself why you're feeling the need to change. Are you pivoting because you're passionate about something new, or are you simply reacting to a rough patch in your business? There's a difference. You don't want to change directions just because things aren't going smoothly right now. Sometimes what you really need is to double down and push through. But if you feel like you've outgrown what you're doing, or there's a new skill or passion that's calling you, that's when a pivot makes sense. Now next, you need to understand how this change fits into your bigger picture of your growth. What skills or experiences from your current business will help you succeed in your new direction? For example, when I shifted from party decorations to selling printables, it absolutely made sense because I could take what I was selling as physical products and turn them into digital products. So it's best to think about what you're currently doing and what you can transform it into this next venture. Printables allowed me to scale my business and create passive income, which was a natural progression for me at the time. So make sure it feels like a natural next step. Thirdly, when you pivot, it's important to bring your audience along for the ride. You don't want to completely abandon the people who have supported you up until this point. So think about how you can pivot in a way that makes sense for your existing audience, or at least communicate why you're making the change. So for example, when I started coaching on selling printables, I still had people in my audience who loved my handmade products, but I was able to show them how they too could shift from handmade to digital products, and how by adding a digital stream of income into their life, it was such an amazing time and money freedom add. And so making this pivot was not only relevant for me, but it was also beneficial to my audience. So step 4 is to make a plan. Pivots don't have to happen overnight. In fact, they shouldn't. Before you make a change, take the time to create a plan. What will your new business model look like? How will you transition your offerings? What skills do you need to develop to succeed in your new area? For me, every time I made a change, I had to spend time learning new skills. Whether that was figuring out how to create digital products, launching a podcast, or understanding the world of coaching and courses or YouTube. The key is to have a clear plan so that you can make the transition smoothly. Let me tell you, this can feel really hard because on the front end, people might think that there's really nothing going on in your business. But on the back end, you're working tirelessly to make these changes that you're going to implement. So remember that there is no timeline for this to get done. You need to take all the steps necessary to be ready for your big change. But life inevitably will get in the way. So give yourself grace. You'll get there one step at a time. And finally, this might be the most important step. And that is to trust yourself. Your intuition is so strong, whether you realize it or not. And if your intuition is telling you it's time for a change, then it's time. So many creatives hold back from making changes because they're afraid of what other people will think. Is that you? That was definitely me. And I don't want you to get caught up on that. I mean, sure, listen, there might be someone out there who's watching my journey and thinks that it's a bit all over the place. But am I really going to live my life based on what other people think? Am I going to stay doing something that doesn't align anymore just because other people think I'm doing too many things? Absolutely not. And that is how I recommend that you look at it too. Don't base your decisions on the other people watching. And let me give you a big truth bomb right now. If people are watching you and judging you, then honey, they're a fan. And they're probably just wondering how in the heck you're able to do the things you're doing. So keep on doing what you're doing and don't pay attention to the naysayers. So to sum up, if you're feeling the pull to pivot in your business, don't wait for someone to give you the green light. You already have all the permission you need. Just make sure that your pivot is strategic, aligned with your growth, and part of a bigger plan. You don't have to stay where you are if it's no longer serving you. And I'm living proof that it's possible to pivot and build a thriving business. So what's your next pivot? I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. And remember, every successful business is built on growth, evolution, and change. So don't be afraid to make your next move. I'll see you in the next video.